It is 9 a.m. I will call this meeting of the Black Rock County Board of Supervisors to order. Roll call, please, Mr. Veeder.
Leyland,
Here.
Little,
Here.
Trelka,
Here.
White,
Here.
Schwartz.
Here. Please join us in a moment of silence to reflect on today's actions. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd entertain a motion on the agenda as received or amended.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The agenda is approved. Next, we'll move on to public comments. Is there anybody from the public, either in the room or online today, that wishes to speak to something that is not an agenda item?
Go ahead, Mary.
I would just like to take a minute to introduce myself. I'm Mary McKinnell from County Social Services. I'm the new CEO effective the beginning of October. I apologize I didn't make it over here until now, but Craig has given me wonderful information and is a great partner for the board. So I appreciate it, and please always feel free to reach out to me.
I'd like to thank you, Mary. I just received an email yesterday, I believe it was, from the Black Hawk Grundy Mental Health mentioning the backpack project that you'd done for the homeless. And I think, thank you very much for the team and your efforts to do that. So that was great.
Yeah, 500 of those backpacks and duffel bags are going to the Black Hawk community area. They contain PPE and things to keep those in the at-risk population safe. So you're welcome, and thank you for allowing me to do that.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Anybody else from the public wish to speak today? All right, hearing none, we will move on to claims and payments.
Morning, James.
Morning, Board. James Ferry, Finance Director. This week's expenditures total $287,995.98, of which $64,438 was Sheriff Department, $31,219 was maintenance, $51,223 was secondary roads, and $41,891 was our IT department. Everything looked normal.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve payments. Is there any discussion or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please, Mr. Veeder.
Leyland,
Yes.
Little,
Yes.
Trelka,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Schwartz.
Yes, the resolution is approved. Next, we will receive project updates from department heads and elected officials.
Good morning, Board. Kathy Nicholas, County Engineer. Well, you just heard we're still continuing to spend money, and that most of our money currently is to the PCI for the Cedar River Bridge construction, the bridge replacement project, so I want to give you a brief update on that. Most of the work on the west side of the river has been completed. Both piers have been removed, and that includes removing the former columns. The former piling has been cut off to about 1 foot below the stream bed, the historic stream bed on that river. Work has now shifted to the east side of the structure, and there's a causeway, a road underneath the old bridge, and they're dropping the deck, some of the steel beams, of course. Those are being dropped directly onto the roadway or the causeway. They will be removed from site, and then those piers will be removed and then cut off below the stream bed so that there are no obstacles for future boaters or floaters or what have you. And that work will continue for probably several weeks now, 3 or 4 or 5 weeks, just depending on the weather, of course. I'll continue to keep you updated. And then our secondary roads crews are out cutting brush all over the county during this time of good weather. So can I answer any questions about projects or anything else? Thank you.
Thank you. Looks like Rory.
Good morning, Board. Rory Giving, Maintenance Superintendent.
Morning.
Just wanted to give you a quick update on our solar project. I know I've sent out a few text messages to the board of some really exciting looking pictures of some progress that we've had. So far to date, 6 of the 7 locations are complete. 6 of the locations that are complete are rooftop units located at conservation secondary roads. The phase that we're in for those particular locations right now is a permit with the intent to operate with Mid-American. As I spoke with the solar company here this week, they indicated that could take up to 5 weeks for the energy company to approve those permits. So we're kind of in a waiting pattern for those 6 locations.
Are we able to utilize them as immediately after that?
After that process is completed, a witness test is performed, and then at that point, the switchover is made.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And then, so for the 7th location, which is Pinecrest, you know, I think I've mentioned before, obviously with the help of secondary roads and conservation, getting the area just behind the Pinecrest facility prepped and ready. Can't say enough thank you to both of those departments for all their help with this project. All of the support posts for the solar panel arrays have been put in place. There has been some electrical work done already. We've got a electrical connection box up to the building. What's left to happen is to trench the power across from the building to the new solar arrays and install the solar arrays. I don't have a ETA on the solar arrays as of now, but we're hoping to get that information here shortly. Do you have any questions for me?
Thank you, Roy.
What percent, Rory, are we at right now as far as the project being done?
I would say, with regards to the 6 sites, I would say we're at that 90% because all we're doing is the formality part of it, waiting for the paperwork to get signed and approved and so forth. On the Pinecrest location, I would say we're better than, you know, the main part of it, the structural part of it's intact and installed, which that's really was our goal before the ground froze. So we're happy with that. I guess if I was to put a percentage on that, I'd say we're probably about halfway on the Pinecrest location.
Were we aware of the 4 to 5 week time frame you're talking about of waiting to get switched over on the other 6 properties?
The permit to operate, I didn't realize there was that potential of a long waiting period. They said it could take up to 5 weeks, so.
They didn't let us know either then, obviously.
No, that was kind of new information for me, but, you know, throughout this process, the other part that I wanted to kind of point out too is, you know, you're kind of at the mercy of planning and zoning, Board of Adjustments, all of those agencies, you know, we had to go in front of to get approval for these projects. So yeah, that all kind of played a part in some of this lag time that we're seeing, just getting to this point. It's really, again, I'll say again with the 6 locations, it's my understanding that is all in Mid-American's ball court right now.
Okay, in regards to the contract that the Board of Supervisors approved, where are we at as far as time frame? Are we over it? Are we in good shape yet, or what?
Well, I think if we can have this project completed by December 30th, the original RFP, if you recall, we sent we awarded we intended to award the contract on June 2nd, and our intention was to have substantial completion by September 30th. But if you recall, it took a lot of time for us to review those proposals. And by the time we finally did that, it was about September 1st when the contract was finally signed. So if you just look at those particular dates, I guess my thought is if we can have this project completed by December 30th, that would be right in line with what we originally intended.
Okay, but forget that part. I mean, I'm talking about, with the time the contract was presented, advisors and signature, there had to be a completion date in now.
With our contracts, what they do is they refer back to the RFP. So the contract would say adhering to the RFP. So in the contract, there is no actual set debt or dead set date for completion. It does refer it back to the request for proposal.
So when we actually vote on that contract, there's nothing in there in that contract that says this project will be completed by December the 30th.
No.
Okay, is that true in all our contracts? It seems to me that when Kathy per contract on roads or bridges, that we have a completion date in there when we vote.
Yeah. Typically, what we'll see with our contracts is, again, the language that we've always been advised to put in the contract is that they adhere to the request for proposal. So whatever's in our RFPs that we send out to the folks for bid, that contract essentially has to match up with what's in that proposal.
Okay, the only thing lastly then I'd like to say is it seems like to me over the years that when we do some of these projects, they drag out longer than what they're supposed to. We're running into another fiscal year with monies. We're doing budget amendments. I'd like to see in the future that we have some kind of a concrete date. By all means, in this contract here, they've had plenty good weather. Who would have expected that they'd be working at 40-some degree, 50-some degree today and tomorrow in December of this date? So I think in the future, I'd appreciate it if my colleagues and I would pay more attention to these contracts. And it just seems like too many of these projects are running longer than what they should be, and they're going from one fiscal year to the other. And if we're not going to complete one in a fiscal year, maybe we ought to hold off on that until we get the others. Like, we just start too many projects. So again, I think this project was targeted to be done by now, and I think it's going to be well into January and February probably. And I don't think the board fully thought that would be the case, especially with the good weather. So I think in the future we're going to have to have those contracts similar to what the engineer's office does, and you got to put some kind of date. Otherwise, they have no incentive. They could work on another job and forget about Blackhawk County this week. So that's the reason why you have those dates. So anyway, that's my point on
This
it.
particular one, though, Eagle will be, for the most part, done with theirs. The permitting is completely different. That's Mid-American, correct?
Linda, I can't hear you. You're going to have to speak up into the mic.
Yeah, what she had asked is, with the Eagle being done on their end, we're waiting on the third party, which in this case would be the utility company. And that's true with the 6 locations, but with the 7th location, we're still dependent on
Sure.
Eagle Point to fulfill what they need to get to that point.
And you don't think that they'll make that you thought they might by the end of the year, or do you think?
I'm hopeful. The big hurdle, like Tom had mentioned, the weather has been on our side. If we would have had a typical winter and the ground had been frozen by now, we would have been in bad shape as far as getting those supports put into the ground. Fortunately, we're able to take advantage of that and get that part of it done. So the part that they have left to do should go fairly quickly, as long as they don't run into problems with deliveries. One of the, just to kind of go back on another project, for this year, kind of goes without saying, this has been a pretty unique year. But we, for an example, our boiler project over at the jail, we had several major key pieces of equipment that just kept getting back ordered. And if you recall that particular project, we did it in multiple phases, and it was a very complex project. If one piece doesn't arrive on time, it really kind of bottlenecks you for moving along. And so delivery is kind of a key issue with all of these, particularly this year. I haven't been made aware of by Eagle Point that they necessarily have ran into anything like that, but if it's, I wouldn't be surprised if that's not the case, because we've seen it kind of across the board with a lot of our projects.
Well, and if there have been several, maybe we need to take a look at that, as Tom said, if there are. I'm not aware of so many. This one I know has been unique in some of the circumstances of it, and obviously, we did have that consultant that we all agreed to take the time to have them review this, so I know that caused an extension in time.
Right.
Maybe that's something we should have evaluated then, of what that meant, pushing those timelines for the vendor.
Yeah,
Go on.
absolutely. I mean, hindsight on this particular project, you know, when we brought that, we being the Renewable Energy Committee, hindsight would have been, you know, based on this amount of time that it took to approve. Our expectation now is this, and have that stated in the contract. So absolutely, I think moving forward, that would definitely help us enforce that.
But Linda, I think also that we heard things today that we haven't heard before. So maybe in the future, it may be bringing the consultant, when we approve the contract with the consultant, have them come before the board. And there's no doubt there's been delays this year due to this COVID virus going around. But my point that I was trying to make, it wasn't just this year. It's been like this over the last 2 or 3 years on various other projects. So I think we need to get more of a better timeline on these instead of dragging these out.
Well, I'm agreeing with you on that, in that it's our job to take a look at those things and make sure we are doing that, so thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Rory.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rory.
Thank you.
All right, any other department heads or elected officials wish to give an update to that? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to the minutes approved from the December 1st meeting.
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The minutes are approved. Next, we'll move on to consent agenda. This will be approved with a single resolution.
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Is there anything in the consent agenda anybody wishes to discuss or has questions on? Hearing none, roll call, please, Mr. Veeder.
Little,
Yes.
Trelka,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Leyland,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes, the resolution is approved. Next, we will move on to contracts and agreements. This is a resolution that the memorandum of understanding for enhanced security services between the Office of Chief Information Officer and State of Iowa Office and Blackhawk County be approved.
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Kim, did you want to say something?
Yeah, this is Kim Veeder, IT Director. I think this memorandum formalizes something that we've been using services from the state for several years. And as I said in the emails that I've sent, you know, it saved the county thousands of dollars, $36,000, according to a report I got from, and that you were provided from the FY20 budget. There is some concern about access to this network, but they need to have that access to actually do their job. So I feel very comfortable and would recommend that you sign this agreement.
All right, it has been moved and seconded. Do we have any questions or discussion, board? All right, hearing none, roll call, please, Mr. Veeder.
Trelka,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Leyland,
Yes.
Little,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes, the resolution is approved. Next, we'll move on to reports. This is an update from Ben Delagardelle, doing business as Urban Services Incorporated regarding the Washburn sanitary sewer system.
Good morning, Board. I apologize for my absence last week, but I'm happy to join you this morning. I was on the schedule last week, but was not able to make it. I just wanted to update you on a few things. Routine maintenance and monitoring is happening. We are discharging, equalizing, finishing up our fall activities. Took a little bit longer this fall. We do have the manhole replacement, which is the influent manhole for the lagoon replacement scheduled. We wanted to do it this fall, but it's going to be better for scheduling and for weather in the spring. So taking our discharge a little bit later reduces the amount of water in the lagoons for spring. That will help us with less pumping in the spring for that manhole replacement. I would like to mention that the system is showing age. I need to share that with you guys with this manhole replacement. I've had some of the pump stations, there's electrical wires coming into those, the wires pulling out from either frost, the post is coming up, stuff like that, just not routine maintenance type stuff. So that will hopefully stay minimal, and we do notice that stuff in our routine checks, so it doesn't cause a major issue, but these small issues are starting to pop up once in a while. We do have 149 manholes and 149 utility posts next to those manholes that from time to time are going to need maintenance. So I do know of one that is sort of falling over. The post is kind of obviously tilted to the side, and at this point it's just an aesthetic issue, but at some point those wires will pull out, so I'll have to replace or reposition that post by digging it up, and hopefully this stuff stays minimal, but outside of routine maintenance, taking care of this stuff will hopefully stop us from having a major event that is costly or risky to the environment in Washburn. This is just gonna have to take valve exercising. We have valves in town. The preventative maintenance of checking the pumps twice a year. We do work on timely repairs and anything that will reduce our risk of a major event. Whereas this manhole replacement falls under that category for me. So going forward, we just want to take care of what is in our possession, or what we can look at. So unexpected stuff that, underground, or somebody has a sump pump coming in, we will obviously take care of that stuff. But right now we don't see too many large issues with that. We've kept our service call number between 3 and 5 a month. Of course, we would like that number to be 0 for cost wise, but as far as things that are in our hands, I don't think we can do much more to reduce costs of service calls. So with that, I don't think I have too many other updates, but we'll take questions or comments.
Board, any questions for Ben? Thank you, Ben, for the update.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, we will move on to other business. This is a motion to approve the holiday schedule for Blackhawk County offices for 2021.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion or question, board? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, the motion carries. Next is a motion that the appointment of Amanda Fessenmeyer as representative for Debbie Bunger's current committees be approved.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion or questions, board?
Amanda, I just have one question for you. I asked.
Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Never mind.
Oh, are you sure? You have a question?
I asked James this morning if you thought you'd be able to handle these just coming on board in the position, and maybe you needed some time to take a serious look at your job before you jumped into these committees.
Sure. And I don't, definitely appreciate that. It will be a bit of time, especially in budget right now. So I definitely will be, over the course of the rest of this month and into January, devoting a lot of my time to just focusing on the position, and of course working with Debbie for as long as she's here, which is next Thursday already, hard to believe. Fortunately, these committees right now are not a huge, I guess they don't take up a ton of time right now. I don't believe we have anything for policy review, the insurance benefits committee, or space utilization, but yeah, as those come up, we'll definitely evaluate kind of my time to see
All right,
where I
thank
should
you.
be spending that. But thank you, Craig.
Yep,
All
thank
right.
you.
All right, board, any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? The motion is approved. Next is a motion to authorize and direct the finance director to set the date of hearing to be held at 9:05 a.m. on December 22nd, 2020, boardroom 201 of the Blackhawk County Courthouse, Waterloo, Iowa, on the proposed fiscal year 21 budget amendment.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Go ahead, James.
All right, I'm gonna be pulling up, something on the screen here. All right. So, this is gonna be the proposed budget amendment, first one. Typically, we have two during the year. And I had sent something out to the board here, but, if you have any questions, just feel free to stop me. I'm just gonna kind of list down go down the list here. For the auditor's office, we're gonna have a little increase in salary and benefits, and again, those are really just going to
Hey,
be,
James,
yes,
aren't all we doing today is just setting a public hearing date?
yes. Would you like me to go through what's gonna be published in the paper, or would you like me to wait until the public hearing?
Well, I guess we can do that, but normally we're just setting the date today. The public will see it when we're actually going to talk about it at the board meeting, but I guess it's up to the board. But
Oh, I know James mentioned that as well. It was for publication, but I'd ask him if he wouldn't mind reviewing them, Tom, so thank you. I just thought, just to know what those items were gonna be,
Right.
is just, reminder for
so
all
you're
of
going
us.
to go over them again then on the date, because that's what setting a public hearing date's for.
Yeah, well, some things have changed even from the information he provided yesterday, so I appreciate the update, so.
And I can go
That's
through them quick, I can
Yeah.
answer any questions, I can do whatever you guys would like me to do, so.
No, that's fine. I received them in the email. I'm sure everybody else did already.
Yep.
Yeah, he did, but he'd made some changes since yesterday, and so I'd appreciate having him review those changes with us today.
Yeah, you bet.
That's all.
Yep. And just kind of speed through that one real quick. The only changes on that is the GO bonds. We had to adjust.
Well, don't
that.
go too fast. You were going through this listing, and I was gonna say.
I'm going to go back, but I wanted to address
Oh.
the change here real quick.
All right.
The change alone is just the GO bond amendments. We had to adjust our revenues and capital expenditures just to adjust for those GO bonds. But
And those are at the end of the list.
absolutely. So starting back at the top, we have an increase in salary benefits for the auditor's office. There are some retirements there, so we have some payouts that we need to make sure that we are marking down here. Elections office, they received a few grants that we would like to amend for the revenues as well as expenditures, so there's really no change in that budget as well.
Well, James, you had the 267.5 before, and that was the grant I know that they did do from the CARES Act.
Yep, the CTCL grant, and then they have the HAVA grant as well, which is the Help America's Vote Act.
And that was just the recent one we added. Okay, thank you.
Conservation, they have additional revenue increase of 103,450, and then their expense increase of 75,000 for a net reduction of 28,450. And that's just going to be the additional revenue from the retainage closeout of the Cedar Valley Nature Trail and Wolf Creek Bridge project carryover funds. Jail commissary, they remodel the medical area in the jail. So that is something that they needed to do and needed to amend for in this budget. The one thing that I did, we did put in was all of the capital projects that did not get completed in FY20. We're going to try to carry them over into FY21. So again, we're going to have the auditor's plat room renovations. That's just shy of 13,000. The directory for first floor, second floor, new signage, sidewalk project, replace with drainage. The big ones on this list are the solar project and the boiler project, and then as well as any COVID-19 expenses for maintenance.
So I'm assuming Rory will probably update us in the 22nd then on some of these projects and the timelines and that type of thing, or?
Yep, sure can. If If you flip the sheet over or go on to the next page, Kim, our health department, we have Kresge grant. That is, we have $36,347 that would be carryover from previous fiscal years. So that, again, that's really not going to change our unassigned general fund dollars.
That changed yesterday, from yesterday's numbers too, was the information that you provided on that.
So that would be, the CARES grant is going to be added in there as well. And that was kind of just last minute as well. So that's going to be $124,778. That's going to be offset with revenues though. So that's,
Sorry, thank
that's
you.
right. Yep, so that's really going to be, again, a net zero change. E911 capital, this should be the last contract for the radio bonds. So that's going to be $54,250. And that will carry over into FY22, so we will have another discussion about that during budget season. So, but that's going to be wrapping up. And then finally, the GO bond amendments, just to accrue or account for the solid waste payments, and then debt service. So
Fiscal year '22 would be the last year for that, 9/11, or not, or you say that?
no, actually,
One more.
last as far as paying it back, I mean,
Mhm.
that was actually taken care of last year. So,
Okay.
yep.
Thank you, James.
Thank you.
Let me know if you have any questions. Again, I apologize for the last minute changes, but again, this is just what is published. You can always go back and decrease it if you have any questions or concerns.
Good, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, James. All right, board, we do have a motion and a second to set the date for the budget amendment. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? The motion is approved. Next is discussion, county preparedness and possible updates regarding COVID-19. Is there anything the board wishes to discuss today? Or any other updates anybody wishes to give?
I don't have any updates at the moment. Good morning, board. It's Nafisa.
Thank you.
We're just in vaccine planning. We have gotten a really good response rate in terms of the vaccine survey. I think we're close to up to 4,000 individuals that have responded to our survey, and so it's exciting to just hear the feedback. And I will keep you posted. You all posted.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right, we will move on to item 10. This is discussion, possible board action, consideration of all aspects of the fiscal year 22 budget, or Blackhawk County budget.
Let's just do this first. All right, budget season. It's kind of hard to believe that we last time we approved this year's budget, we were also sending people home from COVID-19. So it's kind of crazy. It's already been coming close to a year, but I wanted to call this meeting just to get the conversation started for FY22 budget. I have a few notes that I wanted to not only bring to your attention, but perhaps ask a little bit of clarity, ask a little direction, and so we're just kind of kick it off. Let me know if you have any questions. We'll just kind of, like I said, just do like a 50,000-foot view and kind of go from there. So the first thing that I wanted to say, looks like, in speaking with TJ, these are preliminary numbers, but it looks, TJ and Tim, I should give him credit as well, 43 million in increased value with our rollback. So that should help out as far as any levy goes there. Unfortunately, in speaking with the treasurer's office, they are estimating about a $450,000 decrease in investment income. So that's going to be a little bit of this revenue loss that we're going to be seeing in this next fiscal year. Hopefully, by the time FY22 rolls around, we won't be seeing such a hard hit, but at the same time, we want to account for a lower loss than not putting enough in there. Debt service with our new issuance of debt, the debt service is gonna increase $67,206. Something that I did not include on my notes that, that would be something that we could absorb. We do have a little bit of fund balance in the debt service fund that we could absorb that if that's something that we would like to do, just to try to keep that levy down as much as possible. The one thing that is more than likely going to be on the chopping block this year is going to be the commercial backfill. How much, I don't know. We budgeted $870,000 this fiscal year. Last fiscal year, we were, in FY20, we received $1,039,000, and we are scheduled to receive roughly that in this fiscal year as well. So what I would probably recommend is budgeting right around $550,000. I said $300,000 decrease from this fiscal year. I don't know how quick they're going to cut that down, but we have been budgeting for a loss in this line item for, I want to say, 3 years now, and we have not seen that yet. So that is going to be something that I would probably recommend doing at least half. They might cut it in half, might decrease this all in 2 years. I would hope that they don't just decrease it all in 1 year, but again, we just don't know that, and we won't know that for a while.
Meeting with our Urban County Coalition group, obviously the lobbyists for that is one of the things that are our main focus, and one of the things that we're going to hit hard on because of COVID year and that type of thing, that it's something that we need delayed. So I'm hoping that
Absolutely.
by budget time we have some more information, but we'll see.
The other topic I wanted to bring up, we received our draft financials from the auditors. Looking at the unassigned fund balance, we are at $20,830,000. If you subtract the funds that are earmarked for carryover funds, grant revenue that's been received that really needs to be kind of allocated in a certain way, those account for $1.7 million. So if you subtract that number out of there, the unassigned fund balance, you're looking at about $19,128,000, which is about 50% of our expenditures. You'll obviously know that our policy is 25%, so we do have a lot of wiggle room. We do have a lot of fund balances. That's something that, again,
25 is our minimum.
correct.
Yes.
Yep, for policy. And so if that's something that we want to do to reduce fund balance, just to help balance out loss of revenue, that's something that we can talk about. I would not like to supplement operating expenditures, but that's, something that we can do is, take care of some of the capital expenditures, or obviously we'll kind of get down that road, but that's just something I wanted to bring up. CARES funds that were accrued back to FY20 were right around $1.6 million. And again, that is to help with these trying times. So that's something that I would like to just kind of bring to your attention. The other thing, if you want to, well, you know what, I'm gonna skip schedule for right now. I'll go back to schedule here. Operating budgets, zero-based budgeting versus service-based budgeting. That's something that I would like a little bit more clarity from the board on, a little bit more direction. I've heard that, well, for description's sake, zero-based budgeting is essentially starting at zero for operating budgets, and moving on, approving only absolute needs above operating budget as well as capital. And then service-based budgeting is budgeting based off of the services that we need to provide, and essentially just kind of moving the ship forward as planned. So that is something that I would like perhaps a discussion on, thoughts, ideas, opinions, and perhaps give me a little bit more direction on that than I can put forth to the board during these budget sessions. So. Finally, salary placeholder, 3%. I will continue with that until I hear otherwise. If that is something that you would like if you would like changed, please again, let me know. But again, that's really what I'm gonna, that's really what I'm gonna put in the spreadsheets until I hear differently.
Our bargaining units are at 3% this year?
Yes, great point, thank you. Our bargaining, across the boards are 3%, so.
Thank you.
We can go to the schedule now, if you wanna pull that up. I believe Kim is pulling up the schedule here. Here we go. This is a preliminary schedule, but I have budget work sessions Tuesdays and Thursdays, just as we did last year. We will, by my calculations, be completed with departmental, capital, salaries by January 14th. It's an aggressive schedule, but yet at the same time, what I don't want to happen is to not have an aggressive schedule, have situations, emergencies take place, not be able to meet, and prolong this thing. So in my opinion, I feel like an aggressive schedule will get things done, completed by January 14th. And then we can publish the max levy hearing again. That was new last year. The max levy hearing, we have to publish the absolute max for the levies that we'll have. We can go down from there, but again, that's kind of what we're looking at there. Hopefully, sticking to the schedule, we will be completely done with budget by February 16th. Again, that's by design, only because if we need to prolong a week, a couple weeks, then we can do that, and it doesn't affect deadlines.
So when you say preliminary, James, have these been kind of confirmed with the departments, or these are just your?
A few, about half of them. Okay. The other half are just kind of working to kind of fit in. This is kind of where I have the schedules right now. For instance, engineer's office, health department. You know, some of these departments have already been placed in. So.
Okay. So the larger ones, some of the large ones. Are
Right, absolutely.
What kind of questions are you getting from department heads?
Where your guys' heads are at. The zero-based budgeting versus service-based budgeting is a big one. You know, where do people need to cut, if they do need to cut? If, you know, there are things that are perhaps on a 5-year plan for capital, but again, if we don't want any increases or operating increases, that's going to be something that they're kind of needing to work through a little bit. So, and I
Well,
know-
just my perspective on that is obviously we all probably don't want increases. That would be the ideal world that we live in. But quite honestly, I expect our department heads to bring to us what their needs are or what they see as their needs, and being able to justify that to us, what those needs are for that year and for this coming year. And then it's our decision, I guess, to work with them and decide whether or not we think that is the case, or for some reason if we don't want to agree with them on what their needs are, then that's kind of in our hands. So to really tell them to just do everything based on zero and not do anything doesn't seem like we're providing the services and things we need to be doing for the public. So
I'd like to see them all tighten their belts a little bit and be more fiscally responsible this year, seeing as how the situations we're going through. The public's hurting now. You know, we got to be aware of that. And I've had discussion with a couple department heads on how I felt they spent their money, and I stick to my guns on that.
well, and I've had some of those discussions too, as you have, Craig, and I think they are being fiscally responsible, but if they're not, that's up to us to certainly point that out. I agree.
Well,
But I think they do an excellent job of trying to look out for the taxpayers, so that's also part of our role, I know.
Hey, James.
I disagree with you.
Yes,
If
Tom?
they don't,
Last year, we were in the middle of our budget. We were waiting on departments to hold their budget. I hope you've informed them this year that that won't happen. If they're not ready to go ahead with their budget when we are, we'll go ahead without them. But we were waiting on a couple of departments last year in the middle of the budget process. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'll chalk that up to my inexperience as far as wrangling, department budgets in, and with me being just a few months on the job, it was a little bit more difficult, kind of maneuvering that. I feel like this year we've already curbed that. We have all the departments' budgets in already, so that was part of the issue last year. But again, it's going to take experience, frankly. So I'll fall on that sword.
I guess, James, I would like to see your departments bring us budgets that reflect the services that they think they need to provide the public, and then I think it's then up to us to balance those all against each other and against what sort of tax levy we wish to assess. And so I guess I want to see them bring what they think they need to provide the services essential, and then it's our responsibility to balance that against all the other factors.
And another thing too, James, is let's make sure that we really closely look at the open spots. For 2 or 3 years in a row, we've had departments that had open spots that were never filled. We taxed for that money, and sometimes that money was spent elsewhere rather than on wages and people. So if they're going to have a spot in there, they have to tell us that spot's going to be filled within that fiscal year or it won't be put in.
staffing, I couldn't understand, so, yeah, from staffing standpoint. That is something we ask you to kind of work with us too on the departments, just keeping
Yep.
us updated on what those needs are and what's open and stuff, so thank you.
FTEs, vacancies, and that's something that I can definitely incorporate as well.
How are we coming on the strategic
There
plan?
might be needs out there too, but you gotta be in realization that there's, like I said before, there's people out there that need stuff too, and this isn't the time for some of that stuff to come to the table, as far as I'm concerned.
Right, a lot of businesses are struggling and they're still paying property taxes.
That's right.
Also, or
And
property
unlike
tax.
Mr. Little said, there's been positions on for years that haven't been filled. It's time to put a kibosh to that too.
I think those have improved, haven't they, James? I think
Yeah,
we were looking
yes.
at those. Those are, those were something people were looking at, trying to change.
I think we just have to keep in mind that the people that are hurting are the most out there in Blackhawk County are the people that are paying the bills, the taxpayers.
That's right.
That's your bottom line right there.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I couldn't agree with you both.
If we can do
Well,
our part
yeah.
on keeping taxes at a bare minimum and still provide the services, then we're doing our job.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's good to have the schedule, James. I appreciate
Yeah.
it. And like I said, and keeping us posted then as things move in and out of this, into the schedule, because that's good to know even from our planning
Right.
perspective for the calendars. Thank you.
James, I appreciate the aggressive schedule because it gives us, as you said, the ability to respond to unforeseen things that could happen. And if this year's taught us anything, that's a lesson. So.
Yeah, you bet. You bet.
But keep in mind, no doubt whatsoever, as far as that commercial backfill, the state is going to yank that. There is no doubt in my mind that we're going to be paying the full bill starting this next fiscal year. And there's going to be other surprises at the local levels that we're going to get from the state, because they've already said X amount of millions that they've lost. And you know how they make up their losses.
Yeah, we know. Yeah, exactly.
Other than that, that's really all I had. I just wanted to, like I said, break the ice, get the first meeting out of the way, and kind of go from there.
So where are you at with everything now? What your next steps or what has to be done?
So the next steps would be just updating everybody's salaries pages, getting that all done. The departments have put in their operating budget as well as their capital. So, and just kind of reviewing that, glossing that over, putting that into the tax asking sheet. And then at that point, you know, kind of here in the next few weeks and talking with Tim Jamison. We'll have the valuations, and so at that point, here in the next few weeks, we should be able to get a pretty good idea of where our absolute max is. The agency funding, I haven't had a chance to look at that, but those were due on the last day in November, so those are in. Where we will be coordinating schedule times to get them in. And again, perhaps that's another conversation that we have as well. But again, that's going to be kind of the next steps. And just getting a good idea of where the levy's at, so.
And usually we have that idea about the third week of December, it seems like, or right before Christmas or something. So.
Valuations, you mean?
Yeah,
Yep.
so we have that idea of how it's going to impact us, yeah.
Yeah. So last year we received I want to say the week of Christmas or the week before. Speaking with Tim Jamison, he had said that they should be available hopefully next week. So.
Oh, great, good.
Yep.
Thank you, James.
Appreciate the aggressive schedule, just because even with the additional COVID responsibilities and how that impacts work and operations and departments and things, that
Yep.
good to have some kind of planning beforehand.
And
Thank
it's
you.
not over affecting it either. It's still going to be around.
Yeah,
Yep. Tuesdays and Thursdays work though. I just
Yes.
want to be
yeah,
sure that.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Perfect. Again, that's all I had. Unless you had questions, we'll get the ball rolling and start them early in January.
Thank you.
Thank you, James.
Thank you, James.
All right, next we'll move on to any reports or information from the board. I'd like to again just congratulate the Conservation Department on their great success with the Hickory Hills Light Display. You've created something truly wonderful for our community to enjoy, and it's been great to see the wonderful community response to that.
And I just want to recognize Waterloo Fire Rescue. Looks like they did a good job this morning with getting 5 people out of a burning house on Sunnyside.
Any other reports or information from the board? That I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?